Well, there is nothing stopping an idea whose time has come. 12 years ago, 12 years after Stephen Oronsaye report on public sector reforms, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the implementation of some of its recommendations to reduce the cost of governance. As such, 29 government agencies will be merged, while 8 parastatals will be subsumed into other agencies. Also, 4 agencies will be relocated to 4 various ministries, while 1 has been earmarked for scrapping. Well, let's share the story by our correspondent, Femi Akonde, with you.
After more than a decade of gathering dust, the Oronsaye report finally sees the light of day. President Bola Tinubu has taken a decision to tread where others feared, by fine-tuning and restructuring the operations of government to cut costs and improve efficiency. The implementation involves merging, subsuming and scrapping agencies with similar functions. The president has also constituted a committee that will work within a 12-week period to actualize this new directive.
National Agency for Control of AIDS, HIV/AIDS, NACA, to be merged with the Center for Disease Control in the Federal Ministry of Health. National Emergency Management Agency to be merged with the National Commission for Refugee Migration and Internally Displaced Persons.
Now, what that means is that a number of agencies, commissions, and some departments have actually been scrapped. Some have been merged, while others have been subsumed.
The Federal Executive Council meeting also received the report submitted by the Interministerial Panel set up to review the affairs of the National Social Investment Program. Significant recommendations were approved by President Tinubu, and these include social security payments to vulnerable households, payment of unemployment benefits, a social consumer credit program, among others.
Comprising 60 million Nigerians is to resume immediately with the proviso, with the important proviso that every beneficiary will be identified by their NIN, National Identity Number, and their BVN.
And what we're looking to do here is the triangulation of this data set to ensure that not only are we using the register that is properly been populated, but that we also do proper verification of every individual that will benefit from that investment, that social investment program.
For the Ministry of Works, approval was given for the construction of a 700-kilometer coastal road from Lagos through coastal states to cross River State.
Goes through Lagos, goes through the Lekki Deep Sea Port, goes through Ogun State, Ondo State, Delta, Bayelsa, Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom to Cross River. But we also have 2 spurs, spurs that leads to the north. That goes from the ongoing Badagry-Sokoto road, and the one that leads to the Trans-Sahara route that goes from Ogoja down to Cameroon.
All eyes will now be on President Tinubu's administration as he takes bold steps towards the implementation of a report considered to be the silver bullet in restructuring and reforming Nigeria's civil service through the rationalization of agencies. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
BKO, this thing is seen as a silver bullet, according to our correspondent, Femi Akonde, for restructuring in Nigeria's public service. But let's start first with what is the Oronsaye report, for the sake of those who are yet to understand what exactly it means, and just to put it into context.
Okay. In the year 2012, Oronsaye submitted a report to President Jonathan, who had set up what was called the Presidential Committee on Restructuring and Rationalization of Federal Government Parastatals, Commissions and Agencies under the former head of service, Stephen Oronsaye. Oronsaye was President Obasanjo's principal secretary, you know, before the then president promoted him and made him head of service. So he established at that time in his 800-page report, he recommended that 263 of the statutory agencies be slashed to 161, which means more than 100 of those agencies had to go. He also recommended that 38 agencies be scrapped, 52 should be merged, and 14 should revert to the departments that they originated from. So we talked about agencies like the Public Complaints Commission, National Poverty Eradication Program, Utilities Charges Commission, National Agency for the Control of HIV/AIDS, National Intelligence Committee. He recommended that those committees, those agencies should be scrapped outright. And then he recommended that 14 agencies be merged with the ministry that they originated from. Agencies like Debt Management Office, he recommended that it should be fused with the Ministry of Finance. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, he recommended that it should be fused with the Ministry of Communication Technology. He also recommended that 52 institutions be merged, and institutions like NTA, Voice of Nigeria, FRCN, you know, he recommended that they should be merged. He recommended that the NCC and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, should be merged, and that it should then be called the Communication Regulatory Authority of Nigeria. In the same vein, he recommended that the anti-corruption agencies, that's the Code of Conduct Bureau, EFCC, the ICPC, they should be merged into what will be called Anti-Corruption Commission. The old man, whom I met sometime last year, because he had been lying low for years, Oronsaye is one clear evidence in our country that when you move against corruption, or you choose the path, when you choose the path of the truth, they will come for you. They put this man on trial over a phony corruption allegations, which they couldn't prove in court. I remember as far back as 2017, I'd been saying it that Oronsaye did nothing wrong, and I was sure that they would not secure conviction. I've been vindicated. Because they tried to, you see, he offended people not just by these recommendations. You know, in the Federal Civil Service, Oronsaye suggested that PAMSECs and directors should be tenured. You see somebody, a PAMSEC would be holding on to his position 10 years, which will make it impossible for other people to grow.
Yeah.
Many people, for example, maybe 10 persons, will end up retiring as directors because the person in front of them has chosen not to go. Of course, the law or the regulations permit him to stay indefinitely.
Yeah.
He's saying that, no, let us have them tenured. For that reason, powerful people moved against him, cooked up lies against him, and put him on trial. Today, when you go to Oronsaye, his TV does not work. He's fed up with Nigeria. This is what I saw because I visited him in Abuja. His TV is permanently off. He doesn't want to, because he just would not believe that having worked for his country, you can imagine an 800-page report. You know the energy, the hard work that must have gone into it. And we just left the report to gather dust. And this is something that we need to do. We need a nimble civil service.
Right.
Not a civil service where 16 persons are drivers to 2 vehicles.
If not one.
Let's even be decent. 2 vehicles. All of them are drivers. The Nigerian bureaucracy is carrying so much dead weight. People don't like it when we talk like this, but that is their problem. It's so much dead weight. What do we need all of those agencies for? And the unfortunate thing is that in the last few years, the last 12 years, we have created more bureaucracies. Yeah. Every little thing we are setting up a commission. Every little thing we are setting up a commission. I remember Senator Ali Ndume saying the other day that, why is it that the money that we spend on the current keeps going up? Despite the fact that they said, okay, we are putting an embargo on fresh employment. So what is the problem? Every little thing, we want to set up a commission for this, set up a commission for that, so that we can employ people and populate the civil service with dead woods, people who do not offer value. I'm not saying that everyone is like that, but you cannot tell me that we do not have so many dead woods in the civil service. There are examples. If they want us to show evidence, we will show evidence. But you know, this sort of thing, President Tinubu was confronted with this sort of thing in Lagos. Yeah. And he right-sized the Lagos civil service. He was not even afraid that he would not be re-elected. I've given this example many times. He right-sized the civil service. They went on strike. Akele, all of them. But he stood firm. That's why on the day of election in Ward C, where he voted, the civil servants defeated him at his polling unit. In Ward C, here, where he voted. They defeated Tinubu right here where he lined up to vote because they decided to right-size the civil service. But it is the way to go. Right. There is we are a very wasteful country. So avenues through which resources are being wasted, there are too many. And then people are making sacrifices here and there. So this is the thing. I believe that this is one of the big steps that the Nigerian government has taken in a long time. Right. Look at all of those. If somebody recommended the scrapping of more than 100 agencies, that should tell you that we have too many. So government must be faithful. And I'm happy for one thing. Right. It's not, this is an example of reform. For example, reforming the civil service. You can't right-size the civil service and say that's not a reform. This is reform. We are seeing evidence of this reform. This one is not far-fetched. We are seeing it, and they have put a time frame to it. So our own now is to look at them. Okay, you said you will submit report. This thing will take effect so time. We will be looking at them like a kitty bat. Let us see whether at that time this thing won't take off. It has to take off. A government must find the courage to do it.
And that is why I will have to ask you this question, yes. Olayinka. What will it take for the government to take this off, and what will be, will I say, the variables or the indices to show that the government has taken this bold step, or has implemented rather the report?
Well, they said in 12 weeks. So let's wait for those 12 weeks to come. However, in the face of all this, we better late than never. Right. I think the president has done the right thing. But the question I will have asked is, you know, before he was sworn in, usually there is the transition committee and all that. Did the transition committee take a look at this report? Because by the time the president came in, some of the heads of those agencies we are talking about have been appointed. So what happened to them now? I would have thought that if this was in the works, will have delayed their appointment. Let us have this reform or whatever it is, and then you can appoint. But it is only a foolish man who will make a mistake and not correct himself, or you will want to do the same thing and get a different result. The government has seen now that this must be done. 12 weeks is just down the road there. God giving us life. We will see in 12 weeks or 13 weeks, we'll come back here and ask them what has happened, so that the report of the committee that is studying the Oronsaye report will not also go and gather dust, because that is important. In fact, some of the agencies, the way they've been operating, the EFCC, what is the EFCC supposed to do? The other day, they went to Federal University of Technology, Akure, or thereabout, to go and raid student hostel. Is that the job of the EFCC? No, the EFCC is supposed to face the issue of economic sabotage by government big men and all that. The fraud unit of the police is supposed to do that one with the students or whoever. So now that this rationalization has come, it will give the agencies a focus. And then, of course, there is that fear already that some people will lose their job. Well, every reform or every rejigging of the system must come with some implications. So everyone, because you have some people who go to their offices, they resume in the office in the morning, perhaps to read newspaper or watch Nollywood from 7:30 to 4:30 or whatever time they close. There are some civil servants today, they can tell you the story of Nollywood more than the work they are doing, because they sit down all day watching.
They cross their legs.
Exactly. So with this one now, we are going to, I believe that we are going to have a nimble system, a system that is going to be compact and ready to work and make changes. Because we've had too many unnecessary passengers all along the road, wasting, constituting a clog wheel in the progress of the civil service and the agencies.
The truth really is that it's not even sustainable.
Yeah.
Except we want to lie to ourselves. It's not sustainable. The kind of money that we are spending on our peculiar bureaucracy, it's not sustainable. The last administration was printing naira notes because at a point it could no longer pay salaries. When somebody said it, they rose in a wave to abuse him. They said, no, it's not true. And they knew in their hearts.
Of course.
23 trillion naira. Waste and means. Simply printing money without any economic, anything of economic value to back it up. We now have a bureaucracy that is a threat to the smooth running of government.
Yeah. And that cannot continue.
It can't continue. Many of us cannot run our parents' company the way we run.
No.
Many of us, if it's your own company, you will run it in a good way because you don't want it to die.
Of course.
But when it is anything about government, you don't care.
You
don't care whether 60% out of the workforce are doing
nothing. Yeah.
Or whether one person can do the job of 5 persons. You don't care. And a lot of these people actually have other jobs that they do.
Of course. The civil service is just a part-time or...
So what we have, a situation when the CBN said it was moving some offices to Lagos, some people began to shout. They turned it into an ethnic thing. Whereas there is greater job for them to do here.
Of course.
If the bulk of the banks here, 99.9% of the banks, they are headquarters in Lagos.
Yes.
So you are supervising them, what are you doing in Abuja? We should engage our brains, for God's sake. Or you have a unit that monitors the stock market. There's only one stock market in our country.
Of
and
course.
it is here in Lagos.
It's here in Lagos. And the headquarters is in
Abuja. It's part of what breeds inefficiency in the system. A civil service that is populated by dead woods will never yield dividends for our country.
Not at all.
I'm happy that someone has found the courage, because before now, due to political expediency, we refuse to touch this report.
The report.
And it's the same way we've treated many reports.
Almost everything.
Killings in the country, they've set up all kinds of reports. You set them up, they brief you report, you lack the courage to implement. The same way we watch the courts sentence bad people to death. People do not deserve to live with us. When they sentence them to death, you won't have the courage to sign the death warrant. But you can pass instruction for a political talk to go and take a life. I mean, this is the problem. Our governors, they can't sign this thing. Death warrant.
That's why we feel so many people who should have been
judicial this thing, and they were found to deserve to die.
Yeah.
You cannot sign. You lack the courage. You can't find the courage to sign, but you can send your boys. Go on. That guy is a thorn in my neck. Go and waste him.
So the bottom line here is that government needs to find the courage to implement this report.
It has already found the courage. Let's not. If somebody can give himself a timeline, it's not a question of not finding the courage to even bring it out. President Buhari didn't bring it out. He never told us he will implement it. Jonathan, who even set it up, never told you that he will implement it. Somebody has come out to say, now I'm going to implement this, and I'm going to implement in 12 weeks. So the issue is not find
so
courage.
We follow it up in another 12 weeks.
So let's be
has already found courage. Let's not talk about...
we wait for it down the road in another 12 weeks.
Which courage again?